In a small, bustling town nestled between rolling green hills, there lived a young orphan named Samir. He was no older than 10, yet the world had already shown him its hardest edges. With hair as dark as midnight and eyes that sparkled with quiet determination, Samir wandered the cobbled streets each day. His pockets empty, but his heart brimming with hope. Samir's earliest memories were of the gentle embrace of his mother and the hearty laughter of his father. But tragedy struck one stormy night, and he was left alone, the house that once held warmth now a distant memory. Afterwards, Samir was moved from place to place. Sometimes the crowded orphanage, other times the kindness of distant relatives who simply couldn't afford to keep him. Yet through every hardship, Samir clung to a dream, that one day he'd build a life where he could offer others the love he had lost. He carried a battered sketchbook in his satchel, filled with drawings of the fantastical worlds he saw in his mind. With every heartbreak came another page, another brave little character finding happiness after sorrow. Samir became known throughout the town for his quick smile and willingness to help. He shined shoes at the market, ran errands for the baker, and swept floors at the library in exchange for precious minutes spent with picture books. The library became a haven, a place where the cold of the world was kept at bay by the warmth of stories. One summer afternoon, as Samir sat hunched over his sketchbook in the corner of that quiet library, his small calloused hand raced to capture a new idea. He was so engrossed in his drawing that he didn't notice the elderly man who had been quietly watching him for days. The old man, Mr. Hassan, was a retired teacher with a keen eye for talent. Impressed by Samir's creativity and the gentle resilience shining through his art, Mr. Hassan finally approached him. "You have a rare gift," he said, his voice soft but commanding respect. "Have you ever thought that your stories could one day change lives?" Samir looked up, unsure. "They're just drawings, sir. I make them so I don't feel so alone." Mr. Hassan smiled kindly. "The best stories are born from loneliness, grief, and hope. Would you allow me to teach you more?" From that day on, Samir spent his afternoons with Mr. Hassan. Together they pored over books of every kind, fables, fairy tales, even old cartoons. And Samir learnt not just to draw, but to tell stories with heart. Mr. Hassan taught him how to blend colours, how to shape emotions into faces, how to turn sorrow into laughter with the stroke of a pencil. But life, of course, was never simple. While Samir worked by day and studied by night, he faced obstacles that seemed insurmountable. Money was always scarce, his shoes wore thin, and sometimes he went to bed with an empty stomach. But with every hardship, Samir sharpened his resolve. He clung to the memory of his parents, how proud they would have been to see him drawing, dreaming, refusing to give up. Years passed and Samir grew into a young man. By then his sketchbook had become thick with stories, each more vivid than the last. One evening, a travelling publisher visited the town's library during a festival. When he stumbled upon Samir's work, he was entranced. "These aren't just drawings," he declared, "that they're magic." With Mr. Hassan's encouragement, the publisher brought Samir's story to the world. Before long, children across the country laughed and cried with the characters Samir had created. His cartoons spoke of courage in the face of adversity, of hope blooming in the most unlikely places. Fame and wealth never changed Samir. Instead, he poured his success back into the world, opening an art school for orphans, building libraries in forgotten neighborhoods, and teaching every child he met the lesson he had learned in his darkest days, that the smallest spark of hope, cherished and nurtured, could light up the whole world. Samir's journey from loneliness to success became itself a story, a reminder that even when the world seems coldest, compassion and creativity can carve out a place for joy. And through every setback, he proved that happiness, like a cartoon drawn from memory and love, could be found and shared with every heart willing to believe.